Hello? Hello? Hey, I'm back. Hey, word runners, welcome back to Live the Diane. Boy, it's been a hot minute since I've done five tries at it. Hey, I'm back. Hey. So let me turn off my live stream on my iPad. That's this high tech is getting to me. Anyway, let's go back to what I was saying. First and foremost, what I started off with, as you guys were hearing my reading my lips, college football lost an innovator, a character, a personality, a coach who touched a lot of people in a lot of different ways. They took programs that weren't known to win and made them noteworthy. Right, Texas Tech took down Texas, then turned around and took down Oklahoma State the very following week while he was their head coach. Went up to Washington State, famous for guiding Gardner Minshew and his awesome mustache. At Mississippi State, he had the team turned around from 3 and whatever to 8-4 his final season, and he won the Egg Bowl. College football will miss him, but unfortunately, life does go on. But let's just keep our thoughts with his family, because I'm sure he was quite the character in normal life, as everybody says. So I am in Frisco, Texas. I work up here in the DFW area. I won't be able to make the bowl game. Apparently, not many people will. It's a bowl game set up at 2 o'clock our time on a legit work day. Kind of odd. Anyway, so I'm hoping the local DFW chapter for UTSA will set something up. I've reached out to them, and it's unfortunately, I guess it's a work day. So I'm going to give a shout out to Mayfield, Corey Mayfield Jr. I've watched him grow. We are losing him this season. He's I think I mentioned that the last time, so we won't have him back. Danye and Dadrian are two of my other favorite players. So I'm going to I think Dadrian was a senior this year also. I don't know if he's got one more year if he's coming back, but he was out there with Mayfield and JT Clark and all those others for senior day. So if we lose Adrian, that'll be a shame. But in the world of college football, hope springs eternal. Next man up, and let's hope that they leave a positive influence on the freshmen and sophomores that came in underneath them, and see what they can put forward for us next year. But right now, the task at hand is the Cure Bowl. Our mighty fighting Roadrunners from University of Texas in San Antonio, deep in the heart of Texas, are taking on the Troy Trojans up from northern Alabama. It's up there not far from Tuscaloosa and Auburn, Alabama. So they know a thing or two about football. They're inbred. Well, I didn't mean it that way. No. It's bred into them. No. I didn't mean that. Boy, was that a slip. It means a lot in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, just like Texas, right? Texas, big high school football state championships going on. So let's talk about common opponents. I did not know we had two common opponents. They played Western Kentucky the week before we played Western Kentucky, and they played Army late in the season. So both programs are running 10-game win streaks. They almost identical. The identical in the way the 10 games were won. So Troy lost their first game, we lost our first game. They won their second game, we won our second game. We lost our third game, they lost their third game. Now, they did not go undefeated in conference because their third game was App State, and they lost App State, but they did go on a roll in the fourth game going forward. So let's get right into it. So they beat Marshall, who had defeated Notre Dame. Remember that, right? App State took down Texas A&M. Now, at the end of the day, Notre Dame turned it around. Texas A&M didn't, right? So take that for what you will. Would you have rather played Mississippi's number 21 or Texas? I don't know. Now, they got them on the first game of the year, so they're completely healthy. And we came in without a bona fide RB1. Don't get me wrong, Brendan was an RB1, but he was not our RB1 from the year before, and he came back, and that's kind of what I'm mentioning here. Oh, I want to give a shout out to Brendan Brady also. It's going to be a shame we're not going to have him in the bowl game. I do not know of any players that are missing the bowl game outside of the ones we know that are injured. Mentioned Brendan Brady. So we should be one of the healthiest times of the year for us. It's like coming back, taking that week off to get our offensive linemen back and get them healthy. So this should work out for us. The game's in Orlando, so it's going to be relatively warm weather. We like warm weather. Should be moderate weather. It's going to be windy. We're used to wind. Well, we don't play in – they're used to wind practicing outside being from Texas, but not in game day, right? Playing 7 games in the Dome this year. So let's talk about Troy, the Troy game. They pulled away from Troy in the fourth quarter. We kind of did the same thing. They won 34-27. They gave up 470 yards to to Western Kentucky. Let me see. But they only got 415 yards themselves. They ran the ball for 135 yards. Austin Reed threw for 406 yards. I think his name's Austin Reed. I could be wrong. It's Reed. Last name's Reed. He threw for 406 yards against Troy. Now, what does that say? Identical teams, kind of. How they only put up 415 yards and managed to score 34 points. They're just a little bit more efficient. Maybe woke up a little sooner. So yeah, they got out to a decent start in the first quarter. They were kind of dull in the second and third, fourth quarter. They scored 14 points. So Western Kentucky got the last touchdown of the game to make it 34-27. Their time of possession was 29 minutes to Western Kentucky's 30. Western Kentucky had 9 penalties for 85 yards. I think that was the game. I didn't watch the game. Obviously it's hard to keep up. I didn't watch any Troy football games, but I do know that we'll talk about their stats later. So let's talk right now about the next game common opponent they had, and that would be Army. They caught Army late in the year. They won that game 10-9 at home, but they only managed 264 total yards against Army. That's not, Army got 357 total yards. Now, I'm not saying we stopped Army. Don't get me wrong, because we had to go into overtime and beat them with the fade to Clark. So what I'm kind of getting at, and this is going to lead me into this, they gave up 357 total yards to Army. We can talk about the yardage we gave up to Army. We know what we gave up to Western Kentucky, 570, but we put up 580 against them. So what am I leading to, right? You heard me give a shout out to the Taylor brothers. You heard me give a shout out to Corey Mayfield. This is defense, and this is going to come down to our defensive line, because Troy does not throw the ball all that well. They only managed 192 yards passing against Army, and they're passing against Western Kentucky. Let me get to it really quick, and I apologize for not getting there quicker, was only 280 yards with only 135 yards rushing. So I don't think that when it comes to their offense that they do anything spectacular, right? They probably don't have a lot of misdirection. Now, they have 2 weeks, just like us, to bring something in to get prepared for the bowl game. They already knew they were going for a bowl game. Maybe they started preparing for it anyway. But this is going to be interesting. Conference USA champ against Sun Belt champ. Now, what's confusing me a little bit is when I look at bowl tie-ins, the Cure Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, is an AAC, an American Athletic tie-in, not a Conference USA. So I'm kind of confused as to why we went. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And I misread it. So comment if you see something in there that I may be wrong about. But This sure seems like if I'm ESPN, right, and Conference USA, and I'm the Sun Belt, that I would want this game to be played probably in New Orleans on a Saturday, because this is a legitimate work day, December 16th. It's a 2:00 start for our time zone. Alabama's in the Central Time Zone also. 2:00 start for them. 3:00 on the Eastern, right? But still, it's December 16th. That is 2 Fridays away from Christmas, right? Many companies get, if you get both days, you're going to get Friday off for Christmas Eve and Monday off for Christmas Day. My company doesn't do that. We just get Christmas Day. So we get the Monday off. So in my world, it's 2 legit work days. Now, granted, most people on the 23rd, which is a Friday, are going to easily take a half day, but that means you can't travel to this game, right? Is what I'm saying, because then you got to come back to go back to work. And when it comes to bowl games and it comes to support for college football, especially the lower tier, I think that this bowl game starting when it's starting is doing a very big disservice to the fans and to college football as a whole. College football exists because of fans. Its status quo are fans in the stands, not watching it on TV. We watch it on TV, but for 12 games, right? You're going to, for every home game in the SEC, you're going to see 75,000 people, regardless of the record, in the stands, right? Every year. NFL doesn't really do that. They have smaller stadiums, they do, but they block you from seeing their games. They go out of their way. I live in Houston, right? I'm up here in Frisco because I work up here, and I'm closing out my apartment, moving and whatnot, because I'm getting out of here at the end of the year. My lease is up. So that's why I'm up here doing it this way. I couldn't do a polished video like I wanted to, polished for my iPhone 12 mini, right? So super polished, and my DJI. But anyway, the NFL is so petty that I live in Houston. If the Houston Texans are playing, I don't get to watch the Dallas Cowboys if I wanted to. And I'm told it's the opposite way, right? In Dallas can't. That's 4 hours of a drive that you live from these two cities, and they're considering themselves somehow, some way competitors. They're in opposite conferences too, right? Opposite sides of the bracket. That's the weirdest thing to me. College football doesn't do that. Absolutely not. Because our fans watch what we're going to watch. I will never watch a Texans game. I will never go out of my way simply because you block the Cowboys, watch it. And you know what I'll also never do? Buy the NFL Network to watch a Cowboys game. I'm being serious here. But it works for them because people love doing that. It's all gamblers. Let's put it this way. How many of you would watch the Super Bowl if you didn't do squares? I guarantee you half the people that show up for your Super Bowl party are only there for the squares and hanging out. They're not there for who's in the game or even watching the game, because I've been to enough. And you go there and you sit there and there's 4 people in front of the TV and there's 12 over there chatting up a storm in the kitchen or whatever, to where you can't even hear the stinking announcers telling you any kind of stats or anything like that. And it's like, this is terrible. This is the worst experience ever. You go to a national championship party and it's like this. Don't bug me, right? That's just how they work. That's the difference between college football. And that's what I'm saying. This game is doing a disservice to college football. And I hate that Troy is in it, and I hate that UTSA is in it, because these are 2 programs that are on the up, that have proven that they're worthy and they're ready to make a big step. and they're getting hamstrung here. This is a hamstringing. Don't look at it any other way, right? Okay, I'm off that rant. Yeah. I know I'm off that rant. Let's get back to UTSA taking on Troy Trojans. So when it comes to the game, it's going to come down to our defensive line. If we can get pressure, if we can lock them in, then I don't think that they can put the pressure on us to score the way Western Kentucky put the pressure on us to score, the way UTEP came out doing everything against us to put the pressure on us to score. There's a reason why they play the games. You have to play the games. Don't get me wrong. But I want to look at us head to head. Remember, I talked about that. If we go to them playing us, right? I'm going to pick up UTSA. Let's go. Let's pull up Army. We played them second game of the season. We won 48-38. Now we gave up 38 points, right? Let's go to team stats. But we had 485 yards, 512 yards of offense against them. That was like our second worst offense, but we still have 512. Now, they got 485 against us, but they didn't outgain us. And they really didn't outrush us. 29 yards more rushing, okay. They got us with the pass, right? They got us with those passes. But we came right back down and scored on them. Well, hey, we had 10 penalties against them for 70 yards. We overcame a lot. That's something to think about, right? Something to think about is when you look at common opponents throughout the season. Now, they caught Army late in the year when teams are injured, when teams are this, teams are that. They had a chance to see Army throw that kitchen sink, right? So be prepared for it, right? Let's go to our next common opponent, Western Kentucky. Let's look at team stats. I'm just looking at team stats. We're going to do the stat driven, right? We had 486 yards against their 481, Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky put up 470 against them, right? But we put up 486 against Western Kentucky. They only put up 415. We rushed for 213 yards against them. So I'm thinking that they really can't run the ball. That's why I said this. If our defensive line, if we can run a stock 3-man down, 1-man up, which is typically what we like to do, and then throw the occasional blitzer in there with one of the Taylor brothers, we might come away with our first bowl win. And I think that that's where this is obviously the game, is to me, our defensive line against our offensive line. Their offensive line, their defensive line, I don't think is going to push our offensive line around. We got some big boys, right? And we're probably going to be the healthiest we've been at the offensive line. I don't want to say all season, but probably since the first game of the season. And that's even losing players, right? Because I think we've lost a couple for the season, but we just next man up, and they stuck and they got coached well. Where's the issue? Well, we lost our offensive coordinator. I don't know if he's going to be coaching the game. I think he's probably already gone because we had 2 offensive coordinators, but Stein got hired away to Oregon, and we'll see. So offensively, we got to figure out if we make adjustments to what they do. Because I am telling you, if we see them pull the basic, rush 3, rush 4, spy, right? And if they drop everybody else back to that 8 to 10 yards, it's basically drop it in kind of a zigzag coverage. If you watch it, the safety is a little deeper, but the underneath are not much further away. And that's why running past them is possible. A pass defense is possible. And you saw what Franklin did when he kind of sat up and then took off against North Texas. And then we started running out routes. Now, the deep outs, but we turned them up too. See, that's the thing. We ran out and then turned it up, and we got good pass coverage. So we'll see how things go. We'll see how things go. Now let's look. Well, we did talk about the Western Kentucky. Now let's just look at the head-to-head. Let's look at the head-to-head. So head-to-head team stats. Here we go. Team stats. We scored 38 points. They scored 26. We allow 26. They allow 17. So 12, 11. Okay. Same basic gap, right? Total yards. We get 486. They get 374. Yards allowed, 404. This is a big one because yards allowed is 404 for us to their 325. That's 75 yards. But we do well over 100 yards of offense better. And I just showed you those two common opponents, right? Passing yards allowed, we allow 253, they allow 208. Now, mind you, we did give up a lot more yards passing. Well, I don't know. I didn't look at the passing yards they gave up to Western Kentucky. They gave up 400. Rushing yards allowed, we give up 151. They give up 117. So this is going to be one of those ones where we outrush them, 177 to 121. That's 50 yards. And we outpass them by 50 yards, 56 yards, right? So we beat them in every statistical category. On the defensive side, the wrong way. But does it surprise you that it's actually a little closer? I did. That's a little closer to me than I expected it to be. That's what, 80 yards? That's a little closer to me than I would have thought. Maybe the Sun Belt is a defense-oriented, and they don't really have dynamic offenses. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know what to think. They say Troy's 1.5, and Troy has a 56. Well, we have a 56% chance to win. They have a 43% chance. So 56, 44, 50, 57, 43, however you want to call it. We're matchup predictor marginally better. We have Zachary Franklin with 1,100 yards. Good for him, 1,000-yard season. Their best receiver is 823. Their best rusher is 1,059, and Kavorian 713. But remember, Kavorian split a lot of time with Brendan. Brendan was the leading rusher until the championship game. He had like 600 and something. Frank, this is where it's the rubber meets the road for scoring wise. Frank Harris, 31 TDs, 7 INTs. Watson, 13 TDs, 10 INTs. Gunnar Watson, I think his name is Gunnar. Frank Stone for 1,100 more yards. Now, you can say we don't play a lot of defense in Conference USA, but it wasn't like Frank ever had a bad game, even in losses, right? Even at Texas, he wasn't having a bad game. I'd have to look that game up. Let me look at that. That's a good indicator. So we lost 41-20. Box score. He threw for 222 yards. He was 24-35. He out threw Hudson Card. 5-star recruit on a 5-star team. He outthrew him. It was Bijan Robinson was the one who beat us. With his 183 yards. But yeah, not bad. He threw the one interception. No TDs, but I mean, not too bad. I'm kind of digging our chances here, because if I go to Troy and I want to see their game against Ole Miss, right? And it's not like Ole Miss is known for defense. Let's not act like they're known for defense. Let's go box score. 34 of 47, 275 yards. He played the full game, right? We brought in Eddie Lee when it was got out of reach. Why not give him some playing time, right? Fact, I mean, their offensive yards 346, so not like Ole Miss is a defensive stalwart, right? Don't get me wrong, it's still a Southeastern Conference team loaded with 4 stars, right? 5 stars, you name it, they go there. But it is what it is. We'll see. I think it's going to be a hard-fought victory for our Roadrunners. This is, like I said, I did this live, so I didn't have time to really get my thoughts together when it comes to the game. But as I've been talking to you guys here, one thing that I have come to realization: Roadrunners by 10. I feel that. I do. I really think that that's a good score, and it may be something like 28-17, 31-20, something like that. I'm not saying they're going to smoke them, blow them away, winning by 10. No. This could be the kind of game where, we're up 3 and we do a drive and put it away, which is what we've done a couple times this season. So anyway, I'm just upset I can't be in Orlando. I really wanted to go. I mean, I literally decided I was going to move out of this apartment today because I looked at the schedule. I had time off. I took the whole week off. Every game on Saturday, I was ready to go. Even if it was a Friday night, I took next Friday off. I literally had it planned out. And we get thrown into the Cure Bowl and shellax me. And I can't be there for Corey or Gadrian or Danye, for the boys, right? I mean, like I said, college football, you're about where your school is and who you identify with. I'm a Roadrunner, got my hat on. Oh, by the way, if you work out a lot out in the sun, Vita Coco. Yeah, get you some of that. That's some good stuff. It's not cheap, but it's good stuff, man. It really is. My company sells it, so I kind of got this shirt. I just think both Troy and UTSA deserve better. I'm going to go back on this rant. I am. I'm going to give this a little bit more in depth. Why would you do conference champions this way? At least, especially conference champions that were the class of their conferences, right? Troy, I'm gonna look up their. Let's see if I can't get to their standings really quick. Right here we go. Troy. So James Madison won their side of the division, but because they're in transition like we were, not allowed to compete for the title. That's why they played Coastal Carolina. I mean, so they went 7-1. South Alabama went 7-1 on their side. They makes you wonder, right? Their only loss was to App State. App State was 3-5 in who they lost to in conference. But App State, like I said, beat Texas A&M this year. Proven on any given Saturday. I just think when you have conference champions and they're 10-2, not like they're 8-4 or 7-5, whatever unexpected champion. Let's put it that way. It's just it's just a shame. And like I said, Troy fans deserve better. UTSA fans deserve better. College football deserves better than this game being played on a Friday during the day. You do realize it's a 12 noon start on the West Coast. 12 noon. I mean, what's up with that? That is just nuts. To me, I don't understand it. Is ESPN going out of their way to really wreck these two programs? Because ESPN has a lot of pull with what they call flex scheduling. Oh yeah, if a team's suddenly doing good and they weren't scheduled to play in a primetime game, they'll move to a primetime game if the matchup warrants it, right? Well, what do you think? This doesn't warrant a primetime matchup? At least it's on the East Coast. You can start it at 7 there. It's a 4 o'clock start on the West Coast. At least the West Coast people can say, you know what? I'm bailing out about an hour early. I'm going to hit the local libations factory. Look up libations. And or hit home early and watch the game. You can't tell me there aren't road runners that are living in California or Arizona or whatever in the East, West, Pacific or Mountain time zones. I know there are roadrunners in the Eastern time zone. I know some of them. So you're setting back college football. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm gonna say something that I honestly believe, at the bottom of my heart. ESPN cannot afford these contracts with these super conferences that are about to come up and afford the AAC. Because I guarantee you the Big Ten with these new schools, the SEC with these new schools, it's only a matter of time before the ACC says, "Ooh, well, they already have Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has its own NBC contract, right?" Before the ACC says, "You know what? We need 2 more teams." No, by the way, our TV contract, we're not paid enough for 14 teams. You're now paying a contract, splitting a TV contract for adding Texas and Oklahoma through 16 teams. So you better bet that they've got to have to bring that up another however many million a year that those schools get. Do you think they want to pay UTSA in conference, the AAC, UTSA, $2 million a year? I think that's the TV contract. Going from Conference USA, it was sub 500,000. Now it's going to be $2 million, something like that. I think it is. Now that's not a lot, right? That's why you saw Houston and Cincinnati and UCF bowl. But let's put it in context. $2 million pays our head coach, and $2 million will pay Troy's head coach if they were going to the AAC, right? But they're not. They're staying in the Sun Belt. You don't think the Sun Belt is starting to make a case for, you know what, we want a better contract? There's a lot of foot here as to why this game was done this way. Because see, now ESPN gets these things. You get 300 fans from each school to show up. The only fans that are going to be there, if they're there in droves, are people that already live in Orlando and want to go to the game for free, or they bought tickets to the game, right? I doubt you're going to see a lot of Troy fans there. Now, Troy, Alabama, they could drive there that day. They literally could get in their car from Troy, from Mobile, from Anniston, from Birmingham, from Auburn, Tuscaloosa, wherever they are fans of in Alabama, and drive there that day. From Birmingham to Mobile, it's what? 4 hours max. So from Mobile across the panhandle of Florida to down to Orlando, it's like 7 hours, something like that. So they could literally get in their cars at midnight and get there for the game to start at 3. Or, you know what? They could leave the night before, get a hotel for the night, the day before, get a hotel for the night, go to the game, and drive home. It'd be a decent drive. But if you're in the Mobile area and you're a Troy fan, it's an easy drive for you. It really is. No different than me driving to Ruston. Now, I stayed overnight, but that's how easy it is for them. But it's still a day off to do it, right? For us, if you're in San Antonio, so Houston to Orlando, I made that drive. That's 13 hours. I drove it one way to Orlando and back, all in one day, each time. It's 13 hours. And that's East Texas. So you can't tell me that ESPN isn't going to use this to say, haha, I told you, you don't have the fans. You're not sitting at the table. You're not bringing fans to the table. You're not allowed. You got to go sit at the kiddie table. You're not ready for the big boy table. You're not ready for any of that money. And oh, by the way, $2 million a year for TV contracts for each individual school. No. You're not ready for that. Here's $750,000. You don't think that? They already moved our conference championship game to Friday night, and we still shined. So we just got to keep overcoming it. But it's a shame that our kids, you're going to have parents and straggling fans. I know somebody who's already there and already said they haven't seen any Troy fans there. If he did, he wouldn't know, right? So it's Wednesday night. Maybe they all show up tomorrow. Anyway, I need to stop this rant because I'm getting aggravated by it. Simply because I'm a planner by living, by trade. I planned this out. I had it figured out. And I got shellacked. But you know what? Roadrunner is going to get us a 10-point victory, and they're going to get another river parade. And I guarantee you, if they set up a river parade, I will make that. I will take a day off, drive there for that river parade, and drive back. Hopefully be on the weekend. You know what I mean? And if it's on the weekend, all right, I'll do the same thing. I'll be in San Antonio between the holidays, so maybe they'll have it then, and I'll be able to go float parade, and I'll be able to give Mayfield a big hug, the Taylor brothers a big hug, big birds up, and just tell them, you know, they've been fun to watch. Anyway, get a little emotional. You kind of get invested in these kids when you sit that close to them, and you kind of get to know them, and they interact with you. So it's one of those things, right? And I think it really hit home when I got a chance. You saw me interview Tyler Monkey and talk about Tyler and the mentorship that I provided him, and to see him doing some really wonderful things in his private life right now. You get to kind of know. It really hammers home these kids, right? And what they go through and what they want to do in life and what they appreciate, right? And so that just makes it me more appreciative of what they provide me. I love college football. And I'm not going to lie. You know, you always hear me mention Alabama references. My whole family's from Alabama. So I know all about Troy State University, right? In fact, I have roots up in that area, family up in that area around Troy, Alabama, Troy University. That kind of distant cousins, but they are cousins, and we go back like 4 generations. The tree, you know what I mean, and so I've always been an Alabama Crimson Tide fan when it comes to football. I'm never going to be shy about it. Roadrunners are 1A, Alabama's 1B. And when they're both winning, life is good. Yep. So all those times you heard you haven't earned it, you haven't earned a time at the table. Not only that I had to put up with that as a Roadrunner fan, but I've always had to put up with the hate that Alabama gets, right? The fan hate. Oh, it's easy to point out. It's Bama delusional syndrome, derangement syndrome, right? Alabama don't play nobody. Well, don't play anybody. How come those nobodies beat everybody else? And then how come they beat and win national titles? That kind of thing, right? Like Roadrunners didn't play anybody. Well, if we didn't play anybody, then you were nobody because we beat you, right? And that's kind of the way you have to look at it. Anyway, this is rambling on a little longer, 43 minutes. It's 9 o'clock. I got to go grab me some quick bite to eat. Hopefully there's some place still open that won't, undo my diet that I'm working so hard at. Peace out, Roadrunners.